My name is Boyd Varty. I think of myself as an artist of experience. My passion is to create transformational experiences for myself and others as a way to explore what it means to truly live. My central exploration is to live on what I would call the track of your life. To me, this is to live courageously towards the discovery of what you are called to and to what life asks of you. So much of how I live has been informed by my passion as an animal tracker. I'm following the trail of my own life and reporting back. This show is a daily broadcast from a treehouse on the Londolozi Game Reserve in the wild eastern part of South Africa. Londolozi is a 14,000 hectare wilderness reserve adjacent to the Kruger National Park. The land is home to lion, leopard, rhino, elephant and buffalo, as well as a variety of other animals. I am your host, Boyd Varty. My goal is to spend 40 days and 40 nights alone in the wilderness to explore the archetype of the mystic in nature and hone my skills as a tracker. These are my daily stories. Day 19. Track awareness. Journal entry. One day before the halfway mark, and I'm in a rage. A one-man storm cloud on account of a storm cloud. In a clear blue sky, a single cloud floated over my camp looking absolutely benign and then dumped a load of water on my head, enough to soak everything, and then the sun came out, acting like nothing had happened. Wet bed, wet blanket, wet food, wet clothes, wet shoes, which set in motion a whole process of drying and cleaning. What was I saying about the simple life? I could literally be back in evolutionary time when the first man, angry at being wet again, was like, "We need a damn roof," setting off a whole branch of human development, ending where we are now, with tumble dryers and toasters. I'm sure I will be happy about this in the future. Maybe in a bar in New York, telling stories of my African hardships, but right now, I'm just wet. The rage culminated on my run, wet shoes oozing water, when a swarm of biting flies bit me and I exploded. I broke a branch off a tree and began to whip the flies, but because they were sitting on me, I was essentially lashing myself in a clearing. I think that is a powerful image in reality and metaphorically. On a happier note, yesterday out walking I saw a game path I have never been down, and so I turned onto it, wondering where it would take me. After wandering for a while, I found the tracks of that most rare of creatures, the ant bear. Then, a little bit further down the path, a hole he had dug, in search of termites. It was really wonderful to know that there's an ant bear around. They're incredibly rare. In fact, I've never seen one in this area. There is an idea in tracking that they call track awareness. Track awareness is your ability to see and identify tracks that are left on the ground around you. Without track awareness, you could walk right past that ant bear and his hole and have no idea he was around. It's a really marvelous idea to me. The thought that there is information, but you must tune yourself to see it. You must develop your track awareness. And it can be applied in so many places. I remember once meeting some trainee safari guides out in the bush. They were standing on the tracks of a leopard I was tracking, totally missing what was there. In my early 20s, I started turning my track awareness to the quest for tracks of my career. From the time I was very young, I knew a traditional career was never going to be for me, so I started looking for other models. I remember seeing the storyteller David Rattray talk and being fundamentally physically moved. My body literally just leant forward towards him. I was riveted. I remember on another occasion watching my mentor Martha make $20,000 sitting in her pajamas in her cupboard, teaching a telecourse to hundreds of people, and watching that, having the very strong sense somewhere inside of me that that was close to my track. Sometimes you'll know that you're close to it because something inside of you will literally lean you forward and go, you, or that. I was developing my track awareness for career making. I got a CD of the poet David White, using poems as a doorway to explore your inner life and corporate culture. Who knew? I was absolutely astounded. You couldn't study these jobs at university or apply for them anywhere. They had to come to you out of a very essential place in yourself. And they came if you developed your track awareness, if you really paid attention. This is a side story, but recently I met a perfume maker. She has collected thousands of scents, all the way from flowers to horsehair. She has an incredible sense of smell. Her primary experience of the world is through her nose. Her world is a sensescape first. She can tell you who is attracted to who in a room, and if someone is pregnant, by pheromones. She knows the track of those scents. There are worlds of information in our world that we don't even know about. As I was walking back down the path from the ant bear hole, a miraculous thing happened. A honey guide came up to me and invited me on an adventure. A honey guide is a bird that has an ancient connection to man. It is a bird that will lead you to a beehive in the African bush, as it has for others over hundreds of years. Then the idea is that you leave some honey for the bird, maintaining the win-win nature and a cycle of co-creation. The bird hovered near me, chattering with intense excitement. They have a very distinctive call, and you couldn't shake. It's like a feeling out of a movie where someone says, "I think he wants us to follow him." They really give off that energy. In the state I'm in, feeling so close to nature, I was deeply moved by the symbolism of it. What an amazing thing, a collaboration between man and nature. A throwback to a time of kinship and harmony. I stood there alone, really feeling it. Feeling my own ties to the hunter-gatherers. Feeling how in tune we used to be with nature. Unfortunately, it was late, and I could not go with the bird, so I paid my respects and had to head on. A few years into my career quest, I met a different type of guide. Rodrigo was the strangest Venn diagram you've ever seen. He was a storyteller, a poet, a healer, a chemist, and a shaman. He had over 30 years developed a system for helping people with extreme trauma. To people who had been frozen in the land of trauma, he knew the terrain and he could help them find their way out, like a true guide. His system involved creating ceremonial spaces where people could feel safe enough to allow the trauma of the past to come up and in that way be released. Through a total right turn, for the next 7 years I apprenticed with him, traveling all around the USA, learning the system. My early life as a safari guide giving way to a different type of guiding. Both required tracking. Both meant teaching yourself to see what most people did not know to look for. I only tell you this to say I couldn't have planned that would be my path, but I was paying attention, and that's where the tracks took me. Now my whole working life is an amalgamation of those tracks, in my own expression. In my work I have developed my track awareness, but what I'm realizing is now other areas need attention. I must attune. There is a path for me I cannot see yet. A track I have not learned to follow. One of the easiest ways for you to develop your track awareness, if you want to, is to come out of the mind and into the body. For the next few days, if you'd like to try it, notice people, images, events, daydreams, clothes, anything that makes you feel expansive down in your body. Don't think about it. Tune into your body all through the day and let it show you what essentially energizes it. At the same time, you might notice what makes you feel constricted, low energy. Notice this world of information in your own body. See what track awareness it helps you develop. Your body is a wild animal. It will show you your most essential self. Just follow it, without knowing, like a tracker. That's certainly how I got to this tree. Everything is still really wet, but I feel better having spoken with you. Thank you. I wish you all the joy of being dry wherever you are. Keep tracking. What you are looking for is there for you. 4-0, out.
This has been another episode of the Track Your Life podcast with Boyd Varty. Follow us on Instagram at Boyd_Varty, Twitter at Boyd Varty. Visit Boyd's website at boydvarty.com or subscribe to this podcast in your favorite podcast player. Please rate and review this podcast so that more people can find and enjoy it.